Hello, Rama Pupodu. Hope all are in good health, feeling great, peaceful, having a nice life, happy life. Okay, now let's go to chapter 37, part 2. Ramdas wrapped in the vision. As far as Pelgon, the road was level. From Pelgon commenced the uphill path. The winding path made the ascent easy, and Ramdas with the friends walked at a brisk pace and reached Chandanwadi long before sunset. The landscapes of Chandanwadi possessed their own unique charm. The scenes were most inspiring. Here the river rushed downhill at a rapid speed. At Chandanwadi the pilgrims halted for a night. Ramdas was so well taken care of by the doctor that at night he would particularly see that Ramdas was covered with 2 blankets, and the other friends also loved him with great zeal. But Ramcharandas did not get on amicably with the Pandits, and so he kept away from the tent and threw his lot with the company of sadhus in the open air. Next day, the party moved onwards. Ramdas was furnished by the first Pandit, with whom he came as far as Mutton with a pair of canvas shoes, which he put on for about 30 miles. But finding them an encumbrance, threw them away. He was now going barefooted, except the woolen cap which he was wearing off and on, the woolen jacket and the bit of khada cloth. He had no other dress. He liked to have the body light, so that he could freely run on the hills. As Ramdas ascended higher and higher, he viewed a most beautiful natural scenery that filled him with rapturous delight. The ground was now all along carpeted with short plants and grass, bearing multicolored blooms as though fresh blossoms were sprinkled and strewn all over the way for a festive occasion. The next stage of their halt was Vavjin, a few miles beyond Belgaum. There is a place called Nilganga, where the pilgrims consider it holy to have a bath in the river. The water of the river was very cold. Ramdas, going up to the brink of the river, where a crowd of pilgrims as assembled for bath, divested himself of his clothing, and with a bare cowpin on, jumped into the river near its bank and had 3 dips. When he came out of the water, his body was benumbed and stiff with cold. The Pandits who accompanied him briskly rubbed his body with a woolen napkin and dressed him again, and made him drink a cup of hot tea which they were carrying in a thermo flask. Onward ran Ramdas, followed by the Pandits, and by evening arrived at the high plateau of Vavjin. Vavjin, in other words, Vayu Jin, that is, genie of the hurricane, is a place where furious blasts of icy cold winds are blowing at all times, often accompanied by rain. The spot is therefore wet and chilly. Pilgrims with sparse, warm clothing suffered intensely from the cold here. Here, the first Pandit escort invited Ramdas to his tent for dinner, where he met an elderly man, an inspector of schools, in whose company Ramdas ascended a hill on the plateau. The inspector left Ramdas halfway up and climbed down, as chill breezes were too much for him. Moreover, it began to rain. Ramdas and Ramcharandas scaled the summit of the hill and descended before dark. Passing the night at Vavjin, the next day they prosecuted their march. At about 9 o'clock they reached a place called Sheshnag. The cold was now becoming increasingly rigorous. Sheshnag is a vast circular natural reservoir of water, a gigantic cavity in the mountains resembling a tub with one of its sides open. The water was of dazzling purity with a bluish grey tint. Ramdas and the party approached the margin of the Spersical lake and found the water icy cold. Turning to Ramcharandas, he said, "Ramji, remove your clothing. Let us have a bath in the lake." Ramcharandas shrank from the prospect. "The water is extremely cold," he said. "Do not let us have the bath here." "No, Ram, it is essential that we should have a bath in this lake. Ramdas will take his dips near the bank, as he is not used to swimming, whereas you ought to take a jump into the water and have a good swim. You are young and a spirited youth. You have no cause to hesitate. Come along," urged Ramdas. Reluctantly, the lad doffed the snug and warm cloak that covered his body, while Ramdas also divested himself of his scanty garment. He first entered the water, and when he came to a depth in which the water stood up to his chest, he asked Ramcharandas to take the leap, which he did, and swam for about 5 minutes before returning to the bank. Ramdas, after 3 dips, also gained back his place. The Pandits were ready to rub and dry his body with their coarse towels. Then the party went forward and came to Panchadarni by evening. Panchadarni is a flat valley in the midst of high mountains covered with thick layers of silvery snow. The river here was flowing at a slow pace. The pilgrims pitched their tents near the bank of the river. It must be noted that in these higher regions the sun shone dimly through a thick grey mist, and the air was surcharged with a biting cold. The haze lent a weird charm to the view of the checkered vendor and the snow-capped mountains. At about 5 o'clock, a young man of Peshawar, Sambhunath, alighted from his horse. He was dressed after the European fashion. He came to the spot where Ramdas stood gazing on the snows of the hills. Wrapped in the vision, Ramdas could not resist giving vent to his feelings. What a wonderful spectacle! How sublime is this manifestation of God! He has assumed various forms, but this particular one unfolding before our sight is simply glorious. Look all around. Everywhere it is He, in the snow, the mountain, the river, and the green valley. Ramdas stopped. Thoughts melted away and words failed, for the scene was simply indescribable. Shambhunath listened with concentration to Ramdas' outburst, and a change came over him. His face, erstwhile pale and gloomy, brightened and smiled, played about him. Swamiji, I am blessed by your darshan, cried out the young man. I was sinking under dejection, which I feared to be a precursor of illness. The sight of you and your exalting utterance have lifted me from depression. I now feel braced up and cheerful. I am fortunate in having met you. Later, he introduced Ramdas to his mother, a very pious lady, and his other friends, who showered kindness and love on Ramdas. That's all, folks. Let's see in the next chapter. Thank you. Bye bye. Rama Rama Puppodu.